Hey guys, it's me, Javier. I'm here with a longtime Patreon supporter, Rebecca Catelfew, who has been supporting the show forever. I feel like I see her name all the time on Patreon, on comments, and it's so nice to finally have her on the show. Welcome, Rebecca. Thank you for volunteering to do this and everything else you've done recently for us.
Thank you so much, Javier, and thanks for your podcast. I really enjoy your work.
For those of you listening to this, Rebecca and I have been working with Susan Gerbig for months now, right? I feel like a couple months ago, I went on Patreon and I asked my Patreon supporters, I said, hey, listen, this woman, Susan Gerbig, is doing a psychic sting. She's going to go, she needs people to go undercover and we're going to go attend the psychic sting. And I said, if any of you want to participate, here's the information. And a lot of my Patreon supporters were interested in this. And you were one of those people.
Yes.
And we spent all of Thanksgiving weekend listening to these psychic readings. How grueling was that?
Oh my gosh. So I've never been to a psychic before, and I stepped into this. This is totally up my alley. I love the whole, investigative piece. I really believed in psychics when I first started this, so I was interested to find out more. Yeah, I'd never been to a psychic. I've only been to a tarot card reader. So
prior to this sting, you kind of sort of bought into it?
I did. Wow. Yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So I went into this saying, oh, well, this is kind of like a way to actually go to one and see what happens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had two that I went to that weekend of Thanksgiving. I think it was the day before and maybe the Saturday after. And the first one, I felt so bad for these people getting the readings that a lot of them did make me cry. I didn't really realize exactly how it worked and what was happening. I had attended a training from Susan before we went, and I didn't realize that there was a pattern being used by the psychic and that this was more of a for show type situation. It was really hard.
It is interesting. And I even think Susan learned from this, and she's been doing this for years, right? But and listeners, you have no idea. There were over the Thanksgiving weekend, there were at least 3 or 4, right? Psychic readings. There's 2 hours at a time. We're observing Matt Fraser with the hopes of him giving us a reading. That could not happen. Obviously, if you've listened to the episode, you know that there were way too many people. There were 1,500 people in attendance on each reading. And so the odds were against this, right? But it was still very interesting because he's talking for 2 hours straight and he's talking a mile a minute and just throwing so much at you that you don't see the patterns. But when you observe all these readings throughout the whole weekend, all these patterns started to emerge, right? And what were some of those patterns for you that you spotted?
Wow. And so, we had talked about how to get picked, that there were certain behaviors to show that you were engaged. And I actually got picked to be in the waiting room as a panelist that first day, about midway through.
That was really exciting, by the way.
Yeah, that was really exciting for me. I was like, oh, I hope I don't mess this up. But, I dropped my skibby snacks, as I like to call it, because I was too afraid to take a picture with my camera and then get kicked out, right, when we were trying to get a reading. But we were able to see the process of very similar to when he's doing an in-person reading in a very large room. He'll have a whole row stand up. And then whoever reacts to him, that's who he starts with. So when you're in this panelist room, you get a pop-up screen that said, would you like to be a panelist? And you say yes. They pop you into this other room and you can see all the other panelists. And so he's picking from that selected group. So in a way, he's almost, again, picking a row of people and seeing who's responding to him, in that way. He's
not going to pick the guy with their arms crossed. That's
he never picks a man.
Right. The only time he picked a man was when the man was with his wife.
Yes.
Right?
Correct. Another pattern that we picked up on is, based on the age of the person that was the sitter or the person receiving the reading. I didn't know they were called sitters until I did this. He would go one of 3 directions. and very much as you were saying in the podcast, it's a decisioning tree. If this, then that, right?
Yep.
So it was either you go with a grandparent, a parent, or a mystery, right?
And a mystery, and I did not explain that in the episode, but a mystery could be anything, right? It could be like an overdose or suicide. Like, what other mysteries did you observe?
So it could be a overdose, a medical trauma, an accident. His favorite one to throw out there, I hate saying this out loud, but is that dead baby bomb that he'll start with. The real shocking things. Sometimes he'll start out with who died of the diabetes, and he'll start that way, or he'll say, who was the alcoholic.
Right.
So those would be he would be starting with a mystery, or who lost the child.
When I listened to the episode, I was like, I didn't really explain that, but it is true. Like, it's a mystery, a parent, or what was it? A
grandparent,
a child, or a grandparent. Yeah. And so what was really, really interesting was how he would use this phrase, because it didn't pop up to me until I was editing the episodes and watching all these readings over again.
Sure.
Because I watched them on Thanksgiving weekend, and then I had to rewatch them to do the episodes.
Me too.
And it was this phrase of, who is this to you? Or who is that to you?
Yes.
That phrase, right? And what does that phrase do, right? Like, it
really is putting the onus and the mental stress on the sitter to complete that mental loop for him, right? So they're the ones connecting the dots for him. And that's a way of him getting the sitter to feed him more information.
To me, it seems like cheating, right? Because
oh, absolutely.
Obviously, he should know what the spirit is about the spirit's about to spill their guts, right? And how could he not say, hey, there's a blonde woman, elderly woman here, at least describe her. But he says, who is that to you? So that you say, oh, it's my dead uncle. And oh, okay, well, now he knows it's a dead uncle. And then now we start the decision tree,
Yes.
And it seems so obvious when you dissect it.
He talks so fast.
Yeah.
And it's hard when he's speaking so fast. There's a couple different techniques like that he does use. He'll make that very generalized kind of Barnum overreaching statement of, does that make sense to you? Wanting you to connect the dots.
That's the Marco Polo part of it.
Marco Polo, exactly.
Yeah, Marco Polo.
Yeah. He'll do the, wait, the soul, there's static electricity. There's too much coming in. I'm getting clogged. Wait a second. Let me have him take me through his passing. Wait, let me ask some of these souls to step away so I get a clearer image, a clearer picture. Or all this soul recently passed, so the communication isn't coming in clearly. To me, I call those stop statements. Those are when he realizes he's not getting hits and getting those people to react and respond. Right. And he's trying to decide on that tree, where do I go next?
Right. And sometimes the decision tree just does not work for him, and he has to bail out of these conversations. And I just thought it was so interesting how he would bail from these conversations, because he wouldn't be like, I'm sorry, I got to go. It would be like, oh, wait a minute, I'm getting another spirit. And then boom, that person was gone. It was just like so seamless that if you were watching it, it didn't even seem rude, because it was just like, oh, he's so overwhelmed. There's so many spirits. Why
I saw another silhouette or heard somebody else over here. I've got to rush to them now.
And then click, you're gone, right?
Yes.
Like, and I did focus more on the failures, because I think that's where we learned the most. It's like when he gets it right, it's like these people are, they seem like they're in The Price is Right. Like, come on down. And they're like, you know what I mean? Like, they were just so joyous. And whatever he said, they would love. I don't think we learned a lot there. We learned when he couldn't figure it out. And here's the thing. He's, like you say, he speaks very fast, and I don't think the listeners could appreciate how much he says in a very short period of time, because I edited it down. Okay. We didn't have the time in the podcast to actually listen to an entire reading. Susan Gerbic has an excellent YouTube website where she's going to post all these videos.
Yes,
on her
I'm
website.
excited. Yes.
Yeah, and you get to hear them in a lot more detail. It's a little longer. And so if you're interested in that, you should definitely check out her YouTube channel. But I wanted to give you a taste, and I hope that that came through. You know, I almost didn't produce these episodes because I was so bummed out. Yeah, I was really bummed out when it was just failure after failure. And I was like, well, we didn't accomplish anything. But then after some time, I thought, I still think this is worthwhile. We learned a lot.
We did learn a lot. You know, we learned how it's a production. He has a production team. He even said it in one of the shows. He's a showman. You know, he wears the makeup. He sits in a certain way. He wears certain things. It's always in a particular room. He has phrases and techniques that he uses repeatedly. We found out how that panelist room works, very similar to when he's in a live show and asks certain people to stand up and then goes by response. He's doing the same thing virtually.
And we found out that he's making a killing.
Yeah, that was the big revelation. I remember our Zoom catch up right after we found out how many people were actually at the viewings.
Yeah.
It was like the wind was out of our sails a little bit because we realized we did not have enough people.
Yeah.
Even though we had been hitting the waiting room, that there was just no way that we were going to get. I mean, we still persisted after that and tried. But there was just such a small chance we would actually get a reading from him.
So I know you've been going back and watching some of these readings and dissecting them and analyzing them further. Susan was telling me that you found a reading where it was like he has some sort of rule that he cannot read the recently deceased or something like that. But then you caught him in the...
Dissected that one for that YouTube channel. And it was actually... So there was some controversy about that one because the couple, it's a mother and a daughter. Yeah. And Matt says, did you lose your son? Tell me about that. And she said it was recently. And he had said, well, you know, they didn't hear that part till midway through because the soul was very clear, you know, I was murdered, I was involved in these crimes, and this is all coming out. He had died 2 months before. So usually when you're in a reading with him, he'll ask how recent they're departed from the physical world. And if it's within, we decided it's within like 3 or 4 years, he'll call that soul newly departed. And that there is actually a list of things that they need to do to be quote unquote settled on the other side. I personally want to know what that list is, but that's a whole nother conversation. But he uses that as an excuse for almost static electricity, not being able to have that clear reading, and for that the soul is not able to communicate clearly and it's not able to connect. But with this other one where he's going into the murder and the crime, and that this young boy had been set up for this, and they made it look like a suicide, and he's telling the parents it was a murder. They told him that he had just departed 2 months ago, and he's like, wow, this is really powerful. He must have had something really important to tell you for this to push forward and communicate so clearly. Right.
So he had to explain why all of a sudden he's doing a reading for somebody who's been recently deceased.
Yes.
And that's just like some of the inconsistencies that
a lot of inconsistencies. Right? Absolutely.
Yeah. So I want to do this game with you where I get to play the psychic. I want to see, you know, if I have the chops. Is that okay?
Am I supposed to agree with you or pretend like I'm still
this
undercover?
Is for real. No, this is for real. Where I'm going to do a legit psychic reading, and instead of picking a deceased loved one, because that's kind of a downer, pick somebody that you feel, a family member that you feel like some sort of emotional connection to, someone who comes to mind easily.
Okay. All
right, you got it?
Yes.
You got it? Okay, so here we go. If I said what Matt Fraser says, which is, who is that to you? This would be cheating because then you would tell me the answer. So I'm going to take the hard route here. Okay.
Okay.
So Rebecca, is this person from an older generation than you?
No, actually, they're not.
Okay, well, I have to move down the decision tree here, okay? Now, do you feel that this person, would you consider them, a part of the immediate family or the extended family?
I would say immediate family.
Immediate family. So, is this person very nurturing? Is this somebody who worries about other people and is very emotionally expressive?
I would say the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of your uncle, or sorry, your cousin Larry. I'm just kidding. Was it a cousin? Did I nail it?
No.
Oh man, who was it? Who are you
I was thinking of my son because I thought we were going to do one that's actually here that you're close to, and I'm closest to my son, so I'm very.
That's true. All right, I didn't think about it. You know what? And I need to brush up on my psychic skills. But I was just like, I wonder if I could pull this off. I guess I don't have the chops. But yeah, there's definitely some skill there. I mean, I'm not trying to discredit Matt Fraser, and I'm not trying to single him out, because this is like, I used to work in news, and the weathermen, I just never understood how they did what they did, because it's like they could be reporting about a hurricane that's in the middle of the Atlantic, and they could talk for hours about this thing that moves very slowly. And I'm like, how do they do that? That is a skill, right?
Yes.
He's definitely has the performance chops for sure.
Yes, he definitely has, as you say, the shtick down. So
yeah,
it's definitely a performance. He's definitely a showman. So
yeah, definitely. And we started this conversation when you said that you believed in psychics prior to this thing.
Yes.
Now, we only focused on one, so it's kind of unfair to make this decision. But now that you've been through this experience and you've seen some of the techniques, how do you feel about psychics now?
Wow, that's really hard. Having learned what I've learned, I think that there are intuitive people. I think if there's a connection, very close bond or connection between people, people will talk about their twin or a very close friend or family member that they know instinctively something's wrong. I believe in that still. As far as people you pay for this type of connection or being able to receive messages from the dead or to connect to your loved one, or even tarot card reading, I don't believe in that anymore.
And I agree with you on the intuitive people. Like, there are some people that are intuitive, and then you could also have a relationship that is so close that you don't even need words to communicate.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like, I'm pretty convinced that if my wife and I decided to like just not talk to each other for a week, that we would still know everything that we're thinking. Like, I really do think that she could read my mind sometimes, which is nuts. And I feel like I could read her mind as well. And, and I do feel bad about doing series like this, because I know that for some people it does bring comfort knowing that there's a way to keep in touch with a deceased loved one. So I would never want to take that away from somebody. But it's definitely good for us to know these little tricks and what to listen for, to know if somebody is really being genuine or are they just trying to make a buck, right?
Right. So I was thinking, when I went into this, I said, oh, this will be fun. I've never been to one of these before. What if I actually get a real reading? Was kind of my approach to it. The thing that Susan had brought up when we were reviewing another of Matt's readings was, because this person feels that they've heard from their childs and they didn't hear from their husbands, who we think that that's who they were really here to hear from, that may open them up to future predation from another psychic, because most likely they wouldn't get a reading from Matt Fraser again. And so then it would lead to this predatory relationship of possibly them being taken advantage of for being vulnerable in their grief. And I hadn't really considered that dimension of it before. I still am kind of the lighthearted person. Every time I see a pair of hummingbirds I feel it's my grandparents come to visit me. And that's something that's not going to go away. It brings me comfort. It makes me happy.
Yeah.
I think in that sense, if it does provide relief and it's not harmful, let people do what they want to do. But I think it's more of this idea of the predation of someone who's really vulnerable in their grief, and it proceeding further, right?
This is a whole industry, right? Like profiting off of other people's grief. And we've talked about it on Pretend before with the guy that the forensic scientist who claims that he could find your deceased loved one, or, like there's so many, even some true crime podcasts and documentaries. Like there's events for crime where people are just like, profiting off of grief. It is kind of a weird thing, right?
It is.
We should be aware of it.
I think it crosses the line from being helpful and learning about how those skills and techniques can be applied in the future, because that's something that I am interested in, as opposed to making money off it for the sake of your own emotional interest and inserting yourself into the situation, and it's more for your own attention. I think that there's a line there.
And also altering what your understanding of that person, right? Like there were some readings here where there was a lot of talk about drugs or
alcohol. Yes.
Just some really dark stuff that I would imagine would taint your image of your loved one, right?
Yes. There was one woman, he kept pushing and pushing her that this was an alcoholic and that committed suicide. And then how is that going to, again, affect that person's feelings or life going forward?
Yeah. And here's another pattern that I noticed that was not evident in the podcast because I had to cut it out for time, but there was definitely structure to his readings, right? So first it was a decision tree trying to figure out who the spirit was. Once he identified the spirit, he would take them down this really dark path. There's a
definite bell curve of what he's doing. Yes.
Really dark. And when he has you on the ground floor, then he starts, now that they're in the afterlife, everything is rosy, and then he picks you right back up. And it was like that for all of them. It was very formulaic, wasn't it?
Yes, absolutely. He got you to the point of crying, and then he knew it was time to lay on the platitudes and close out of that one so he could head to the next one. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, Rebecca. You took a lot of time to do this thing, and that was really cool seeing you participate in this and getting so close. You got so close.
Yeah, we really did. I really appreciate you letting us participate. I love being able to participate, in Reddit or however we can. I think it's important. Yeah. And it's nice to have a community here.
It is. It is. I feel like our little pretender community is pretty strong. So thank you for being a part of it. And thank you for co-hosting this bonus episode with me.
Thanks for the opportunity. And thanks for all your work.
If you did not get enough of Matt Fraser in part 1 of Didn't See It Coming, there are 115 videos on Susan Gerbich's YouTube channel that is a playlist on all of Matt Fraser's, where you get to see other stings that Susan has conducted, plus some of the stings that we conducted over the Thanksgiving weekend. So it's all in there. I forget how many hours and hours of videos are in this playlist, but you're going to love it. So go ahead and check out Susan Gerbich's YouTube channel, which I will link in the show notes. As always, we are going to be working on some bonus episodes for this series where I invite you, my Patreon listeners, to come on the show with me and talk about the episodes. If you're interested in that, shoot me a message on Patreon and we'll see what we could work out. All right, take care, guys.